All right, everyone, welcome to Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, the websites by plebes or plebs. All right, we're going to the numbers. Let's do it.
Number time!
Sponsored by
Bitcoin 2022. All right, at the time of this recording, the block height is 704,009, the Bitcoin price 53,910, chain rewrite days 853, total public lightning capacity 9,888.20. Sats per dollar, or the Moscow time, 1,855 or 1855. And blocks to the halvening, 135,991. I totally got stumped on the total public lightning capacity. I thought I was reading a different number. Anyways, dude, what are you going to do?
We're back. We're frozen in time again. But hey,
here we go.
I'm super bullish. And let me tell you why I'm super bullish. Ignore the fiat to Bitcoin price, or like we like to call it on this show, the caca price. I'm super bullish because the hash rate, man, that baby just keeps going up. It's unstoppable. The honey badger is unstoppable. Think about all the mierda that we survived this year. Think about it, right? The Elon FUD, China banning 2 times, right? They banned Bitcoin mining, and then they banned Bitcoin twice. And Bitcoin, all the miners had to leave China. The mining manufacturing had to leave China, and we're still here.
This is it.
But man, anti-fragile, bro. Anti-freaking-fragile.
Definitely anti-fragile, but we're starting to hear more news about Taiwan, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, so it's... Don't get me wrong, China, you know, like, China may have made that first move thinking that they'd, like, sweep the leg, so to speak. That didn't quite work out, so now they're going to plan B. like, maybe we could just take all the manufacturing. Yeah, that's not going to work. I mean, don't get me wrong, though, but we do have, if I'm not mistaken, there are ASIC miners in the USA. Like, I'm talking about makers. Is there not at least one maker?
So the issue is that any any chip that's under 10 micrometers, I'll pop up the actual word, but any specific chip that's under a specific side in terms of the distance between the transistors is all made in Taiwan. And to move the infrastructure to another country takes a long time. So yeah, like it's definitely like a national security issue. Like they do see it as that. The Taiwanese company, the one that actually makes the chips, they've opened a plant in the US, right? So they are migrating, but still, dude, I think it's like 90% of chips under that specific size are made in Taiwan, right? So and it's crazy because think about it. Think if China goes to war with Taiwan or invades Taiwan, right? They're essentially taking over the world because the whole world runs on these semiconductors. Everything that we use, whether it's an iPhone, whether it's an ASIC, whether it's your microwave, be kind to them because they'll kill you one day. They're kind, I'm saying. Machines. Microphones, cameras, right? Like Xbox controllers, like literally like the whole world runs on these things. And they're made in a tiny little island off a very, very hostile country. Just saying. Yeah.
I mean, look. So for sure, be nice to the machines, okay? Because we want to have, you know, we want to have easygoing overlords, all right? But at the same time, it makes me think, which moron agreed to that? I mean, think about it. Like, why would you only have one place manufacture a semiconductor of a certain size and nowhere else? Like that, talk about like, I mean, like that's just like, it just sounds stupid.
With everything
obviously I don't know all the nuance, but it sounds ridiculous.
With the clown world that we're currently experiencing, that we've commented heavily on this show, right? Are you really asking that question, Phil?
I'm asking that question, but I'm not expecting an answer, and I'm not surprised. But I have to ask the question because it has to be said. I mean, that just sounds completely stupid. It totally sounds like somebody just got paid a lot of money. Like, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like a deal that worked out for one particular party and no one else.
I think they were just first to the ball game. I think it's the name of the company is like TSC or something. It's a Taiwanese company. They were just
SMC?
first to the TMSC, something else. We'll pop it up. But they were the first to the game, right? And they had such a head start that it's very hard to catch up. And a lot of people don't understand the complexity that goes into making these silicon wafers, which is where the chips come from, right? Like, you in the manufacturing facilities, first of all, it's all robotic. People have to wear Phil, you've been in these things.
Yes.
You have to wear complete suits, and the air is ventilated in such a way that any dust particles, it gets sucked in through the floor. Because if any dust gets on any of the wafer, it could potentially ruin these silicon wafers, right? So really crazy stuff. Anyways, we'll cover it here because it has to do with Bitcoin mining. But anyways,
Nothing to do with the numbers, though.
we got sidetracked.
Sorry, we got sidetracked. The machines are taking over. We got to be nice to them. They got to be kind overlords. All right.
When you close your microwave door, do it gently. Because one day, that microwave will come after you. Anyways, Phil, it's time for...
The Daily Fail. Sponsored by... Pirate Hash. All right, I apologize. I feel like somebody tagged us in this, and I don't remember, and I apologize. So shout out to you, though, if you tagged us in this, or I found this. I don't remember, but... Anyways, let's take a look at this. This is extraordinary. The UK's Financial Conduct Authority looks like it has secured the criminal conviction of a major UK bank. NatWest pleads guilty to money laundering offenses. What about all those controls and the checks and balances? And you need our regulation, right? Need that regulation, Nico. It's very important. NatWest pleaded guilty on Thursday to failing to prevent the laundering of nearly £400 million, $544 million US, and faces a heavy fine after becoming the first bank in Britain to admit to a criminal offense of this sort. I'm sure that they have auditors and stuff, right? Somebody must have caught something. Who knows? Anyways, the bank, which is 55% taxpayer-owned, after a £45 billion plus state bailout during the financial crisis, indicated in a London court guilty pleas to 3 criminal charges of not adequately monitoring customer accounts between 2012 and 2016. NatWest could face a potential penalty of around £340 million under sentencing guidelines. Montgomery told the court, although a judge will set the level of any fine later this year. NatWest, which is Britain's biggest business bank, said in a statement it will take a provision in its third quarter results next month in anticipation of a fine. That's called pay to play. Right there, that's, oh, okay, you know what, we'll take a provision in the next quarter.
Mm-hmm.
The nice little slap on the wrist, why not? We facilitate crime, it's all good. It's all good. Regulators. See, I say the word, right? And right away, you feel safe. Oh, okay, good, he said regulators, we're all good. They're watching out for everyone. Oh, here we go. The FCA, I don't know who that is, but they're obviously doing a great job. The FCA alleged NatWest failed to monitor suspect activity by a client that deposited about £365 million in its accounts over 5 years, of which $264 million was in cash. That is sketchy. Anyways, but it said it would not take action against any current or former employees, while NatWest said it was not anticipating any further authority investigating this conduct. NatWest said it had invested £700 million over 5 years in money laundering prevention systems. I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret, and you don't have to pay me for this. It didn't work. Just saying. No consultation fee. This is a freebie. I'm like Spider-Man over here. Right? £700 million they invested, Nico. Did not fucking work. Excuse my language. I'm sorry, you're going to have to beep that out. Did not work. Today's events should have compliance departments reviewing their own procedures to ensure adherence to the regulations. Neil Williams, deputy head of complex crime at Reed's Solicitor, said, "The message from the FCA is clear. Comply or face court." No. It's not comply or face court. It's comply or pay, right? And that's really what comply means. Because in the end, it makes no difference. Like, they're going to go to court. This is all just a charade. This is my point, right? We're watching a show. Make it seem like something is happening. People are being held accountable. Companies are being held accountable. Look at us, right? We're making sure the little guy doesn't get screwed, even though we just watched the little guy get screwed for 5 years and then reported it. All the while, £700 million were spent on prevention of this exact thing? Are you freaking kidding me? Like, how is this not Clown World?
Dude, I'm sick and tired of the goddamn double standards. Okay? Like, the US, and it's not only the US, I just happen to live here, so I know the US more, but the US government spends, right, more than it takes in tax revenue every year. Okay, we just saw the federal government leave over $80 billion in Afghanistan to people that we were supposedly fighting for 20 years, that US soldiers lost their lives fighting, and we just gave them a bunch of equipment in which they're just using, right? So why is it that when the government spends, right, there's no accountability, but for us, for the peasants, right, we have to report, or banks have to report every single one of our transactions, like as if, you know, we were all trying to steal, right? Where these same politicians, right, which we know from the Pandora Papers and the Panama Papers, they just put their money overseas for no one to see. So it's like they're standing on this like moral high ground where they're like, we want to make sure that no money gets through the cracks. But at the same time, their own spending habits that come from the money printer show that they can't even control themselves. They're so inefficient with the money that they spend. They spend more money year after year than they collect in tax revenue. And then it's the people that get footed the bill. And the worst part about all of this is that this is just the cost of doing business to these bankers. None of these bankers go to jail. They just pay a fine. And that's it. So it's like the KYC AML, it's hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy. They're projecting what it is themselves that they do. These politicians are corrupt. We've shown you millions of times. These bankers are corrupt. In fact, the head of the European Central Bank is a convicted criminal for money laundering or something along those lines, for hiding money or something. So it's like, but at the same time, they treat us peasants like, you have to report every single transaction or not, you're a fucking bad citizen. So it's like, what the F? What the fuck is going on? And El Salvador proves, this is why it's so important, that the bureaucracy is not needed. In fact, more people, it's more inclusive if the bureaucracy is not there, right? And that's what you're seeing in El Salvador. In 30 days alone, more people have a Bitcoin wallet than a bank account. So it's just, man, it makes me so angry, but it's cool because Bitcoin fixes this.
That's right. It does, right? This is exactly, right? This failed. This is the whole point, is that Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin actually fixes this. Because we're just showing you, this is the system that keeps crapping on Bitcoin, talking about their regulation and how they're looking out for little people. And in the meantime, no, this is exactly the point. You are terrible with this. And that's why we need Bitcoin, so that you can't control this.
You know, and you're absolutely right, Phil. And it's, look, it goes to the old trope, and we've said this many times, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And the innovation of Bitcoin, unlike all the other shit coins, right? is that it's rules without rulers. There's no central entity at the top mandating and telling everyone what to do. That is the innovation, and that's what scares the living shit out of them. That they've been disintermediated. That's what the internet has done to so many industries. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Meme Review, sponsored by
Citadel 21.
All right, everybody. The meme for today. Sometimes we don't cover memes. Sometimes we cover pictures because they're just as effective as memes.
Oh my
Anyways,
God.
check out this picture of Upton Sinclair and Steve Hanke. It is difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on his not understanding of it. And for anyone who's not in the know, Steve Hanke has been one of the biggest people that is vehemently against Bitcoin, trashing El Salvador, saying that El Salvador is going to go to the gutter, right? And saying that Bitcoin is a failed experiment, saying all of these stuff. But it's funny because he puts this quote and he's really talking about himself in this. And it's funny because the Bitcoiners, Coinicarus, aka Phil, you're trolling us, right?
I mean, really?
The irony of BTC sessions. You Bitcoin this. And then there's a Spider-Man pointing at himself. Bingo. Right. Oh, self-bone. Self-bird. These are rare.
I mean, are you kidding me? This is the most ridiculous crap. Okay, like I can't believe he posted this, Nico. That's why I'm saying and somebody responded to me and said no, he's trolling himself.
It's a meme.
And they're absolutely right.
It's a fucking meme.
It's a total meme. You should take a screenshot right now and save it. I'm thinking I'm going to do that later, and I'm going to share this with people later on in life.
Dude, this is this guy has his okay. Anyways, I'm not gonna get off script. But anyways, next meme. Again, it's not really a meme, right? But bear with me because again, pictures sometimes are memes, right? U.S. Deputy Attorney General announces the creation of a cryptocurrency enforcement team aiming to strengthen authorities. And then Yield Farb Donna looks like a shitcoiner said, "Look at all this Bitcoin they found in a cartel member's house." It's funny because in the videos that were coming out when the Taliban took over Afghanistan, you saw the same videos of houses full of cash. Where's the Bitcoin, bro? Where is it, right? And we've reported this so many times on the show. I think it's less than 1% of all Bitcoin transactions, according to Chain Analysis, are criminal transactions. So is it really about stopping crime, or is it more so about control? Just saying. Anyways, for those awesome memes, especially the one from Steve Hanke, I'm going to give it the F4 key. Yes, guys, I have insider information that at the Fed, the F4 key is the actual print button. It's not the P key, it's the F4 key. And I'm totally kidding. That was sarcasm. Or is it sarcasm? Phil?
It probably is a key like that because they're probably using a really crappy old program. Okay? So I'm just saying. Anyways, great memes. Loved them. And for that, I am giving it my brand new Taco Pleb sticker.
Ooh.
That's right.
And if you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. Taco Pleb sticker. Wow. Pirate's going to be proud. But anyways, guys, do you agree with our scores? Do you disagree? Let us know down in the comments. And join our Telegram. And link us some Bitcoin memes to review. Because it's a Bitcoin meme review. And we need Bitcoin memes. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily News, sponsored by
Crypto Cloaks.
All right, everybody. Remember the video that we played you a couple days ago of Cynthia Lummis essentially not really taking political sides, blaming both political parties about the crazy spending. And we hypothesized on this show that it might have been because she took the orange pill. Well, it's confirmed that not only did she take the orange pill, Cynthia Lummis is stacking sats. Check this out. Senator Cynthia Lummis just bought more Bitcoin. And maybe you guys don't know, but if you are a senator or a congressman, you have to report essentially all the trades you do, whether that's stocks, whether that's stuff, right? And that's where you see all the insider trading. But it's, anyways, they try to be transparent about it. Or do they? Anyways, here is the filing from Cynthia Lummis, as you can tell, in August. Guess what? She was stacking the corn, and she is up, baby. And maybe that is why she's talking about the crazy fiat shenanigans that is going on. But I got more good news, ladies and gentlemen. Check this out. The institutions are coming in. They're piling in, and they're doing so very quickly. Why? Because Wall Street wants its pound of flesh, and they don't want to get left behind. Anyways, check this out, Phil. Well, let me start with this. So, SEC chief says the U.S. won't ban cryptocurrencies. I'm going to tie this in a little bit, right? This is Gary Gensler, Securities Exchange Commission Chair Gary Gensler has had multiple dust-ups with crypto firms, but even he says the U.S. won't follow China's lead in banning digital tokens. Gensler said Tuesday that the government's focus is on ensuring that the industry adheres to investors and consumer protection rules. And here it is again, Phil, anti-laundering regulations and tax laws. He made the comments at a House hearing after a Republican lawmaker asked if a China-like prohibition was on the table in the U.S. This is the second time an elected official is asking a non-elected official whether the U.S. would ban Bitcoin or not, right? Last week or a couple days ago, we reported about how everyone was celebrating. Powell, oh my God, Powell said they're not going to ban Bitcoin. Gary Gensler said they're not going to ban Bitcoin. Why are elected officials asking non-elected officials whether the U.S. is going to ban Bitcoin or not? That is the signal, okay? But anyways, I promised I would tie this in. Bear with me. Check out this announcement, right, from the George Soros Fund. Now they own Bitcoin. I said institutions are piling in, and the reason they're piling in is, again, the signal or the announcements from Powell and from Gensler. So check this out. The family owns some coins, but not a lot. Don Fitzpatrick, CEO and Chief Investment Officer of Soros Fund Management, said in an interview at Bloomberg event this week, "I'm not sure Bitcoin is only viewed as an inflation hedge here. I think it's crossed the chasm to mainstream." Fitzpatrick went on to explain how cryptocurrencies now have a market value more than $2 trillion with over 200 million users and growing. I added the last part. But it's not only the George Fund, it's also JP Morgan, right? JP Morgan analysts have shared that they believe an increased appetite from institutional investors has been fueling the Bitcoin rally. Institutional investors appear to be returning to Bitcoin, perhaps seeing it as a better inflation hedge than gold. You heard that right. A major bank saying institutional investors are seeing Bitcoin as a better investment than gold. Why is that, right? If you look at Peter Schiff, he would tell you otherwise. Gold hasn't really done much in the last 10 years. Compare that with Bitcoin's performance. And not only that, you don't know how much gold is floating in outer space. You don't know how much gold is in the ground. But you absolutely know that there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. Bitcoin has absolute scarcity. Nothing else has it. We still don't know the implications of that. But so far, the implications are something going from zero to, what are we at now? $54,000 in 12 years? It's the fastest thing to ever get to $1 trillion without a sitting CEO or employees. It's a completely decentralized network. Really interesting. But here's how I'm going to connect it with the Gary Gensler announcement. JP Morgan said in a note today that a range of factors may be fueling the rally, including institutional investor appetite, assurances that the U.S. won't ban Bitcoin, and the recent rise of the Lightning Network. Oh, but wait a second. That's tough, man, because what about Roger Ver and Craig Wright that said you need bigger blocks? Looks like those institutional investors are looking at what's going on in El Salvador and looking at the utility of the Bitcoin network just itself, put the commodity aside, the Bitcoin network as a financial rail, and they see promise in that. Why do they see promise in that? Because it's actually working and people are using it. Anyways, Phil.
You just because you had to mention Roger Ver, so I just pictured him bribing somebody to do the Bcash commercials, and then that's exactly it. You know, like it's okay. He's always got coffee. Okay, he's got the coffee money. It's all good. Oh wait, we already showed a video with people buying coffee with. It's okay. It doesn't matter. I'm sure that there's another use case. I'm sure there's an enterprise use case, right? I'm sure there's some intranet of money use case. I mean, this is just. Look, you know, what we're talking about here, you know, what is happening is just, it's completely crazy, right? This asset is so young. Think of how old gold is. Peter must be freaking out right now. Like, we see him on Twitter. He's not a happy camper. His tweets, man, like he hates Bitcoin. Bitcoin's making him look really stupid. Okay? And don't get me wrong, but it's significantly more portable. You know, it's significantly more portable. It's way easier to manage. You can't fake Bitcoin. You know, it's just. I'm sorry, Peter. This is not going to work. You know what? All I keep thinking about is that how long, right? How long until we overtake gold's market cap? Not that number itself makes a difference, but I'm talking about the symbolism of gold. What are your thoughts? I don't know. I always think about this and I'm like, I don't know. It could be 5 years. It could be 10 years. It could be 2 years.
So,
you know,
look,
I don't know. I know I hate speculating, but I think about this. I'm sorry.
No. It's a really good question, and I kind of take a different approach. You know, we kind of take a different approach on the show, right? And it's because I think that a lot of Bitcoiners and a lot of YouTubers, they celebrate at that fact. You know, it's inevitable. But what I see that when Bitcoin inevitably takes gold, right, governments, specifically in countries that have the most to lose because of their fiat money printing power, right, specifically developed countries like the US, like China, like the European Union, right? Man, when Bitcoin overtakes gold, it's going to be a full-out war. It's going to be a war because these people are going to be freaking out. And let me tell you where they're going to be freaking out. Because governments, right, one of the ways they justify money printing is through the issuance of bonds. But all of a sudden, right, you have an asset that does better than bonds, right? So, and Ray Dalio has touched upon this, right? And his take is kind of like governments are going to ban Bitcoin because he's looking at it through that sense. And I'm looking at it like they can't ban Bitcoin. We've seen them not being able to ban Bitcoin. But also, like, think about it. If a government is not able to sell bonds, right, and they're already printing way more than they receive, how are governments in developed countries going to be paying for liabilities, right? And if you read the book The Sovereign Individual, he talks about this, right? And he talks about this back in the 1990s about how the advent of an e-cash, he didn't know it was Bitcoin back then, would give so much sovereignty to the individual that it would decline the modern democratic welfare states like the United States, like Europe, like all that stuff. So anyways, moving on to this next article that I also saw, Phil, a lot of people celebrating on Twitter. But again, we want to give you a different perspective than what you're getting from other people, right? A lot of people celebrated this. I saw this with giant red flag. Let me explain to you why. The U.S. Bank launches Bitcoin custody service as institutions race to cater to crypto demand. U.S. Bank, the fifth biggest retail bank in the nation, that's pretty big actually, announced Tuesday that its cryptocurrency custody service is available to fund managers. They will also make this available to retail, inevitably. But here's the signal, guys. The offering will help investment managers store private keys for Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin with the help of sub-custodian NYDIG, according to Gunhan Kedia, vice chair of the bank's wealth management and investment services division. Now, why did I say this is important? Because if they ever 6102 Bitcoin, right, the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to seize all the Bitcoin that these banks custody for you. Listen, one of the best inventions of Bitcoin was self custody. If you're leaving your Bitcoin at the bank, right, it defeats kind of the entire purpose of buying Bitcoin, right? It's creating the same problem that we have, which is someone else is holding your wealth. You have money in a bank. It's not really your money. The bank owes you an IOU, right? And then they lend out your money, right? So like they have a liability to give you the money, but it's not necessarily yours, right? You have to ask permission from the bank to have it, right? So again, I know a lot of normies are going to get funneled in that direction, which is why I'm giving a different perspective than everybody on Twitter or a lot of the other YouTubers that were celebrating this. And I'm kind of looking at it like, this is dangerous. Anyways, what are your thoughts, Phil?
Don't be a sucker. Learn to, you know what? If you're loaded enough that you've got, that you've got management services for Bitcoin, then I think you have enough time to sit down and learn how to custody your own Bitcoin. You can just let them play with the funny money. Let them custody your crap, okay? But Bitcoin, you figure out how to do that yourself. I think that's hilarious. Also bullish. Hilarious, but bullish, right? Funny because I picture these like fund managers, right? Like, what are they really doing? Where are they keeping these keys? They're putting them in a lockbox. So? I don't know. I'm sorry. Like, what kind of a service is that? Like, and you're paying for this? Like, what happens? Like, do you go there, you discuss your private keys with them? We're going to talk about the words? Like, I don't get what they're doing, Like, normally when you walk into a bank, you talk about investments, they blow the smoke up your ass and they show you all the pictures of the funds and the charts and the projections, and it's all kinds of fun. But in Bitcoin, I don't know what you're gonna talk about.
They go over the numbers, dude. When you get there,
they go over the numbers.
They pull up Clark Moody dashboard. They're like, okay.
They pull up the Clark Moody dashboard. Let's do it.
Moscow time.
Let's do it, kind sir.
The block height.
You know what? Expect their suits to get a lot nicer. Expect their suits to get a lot nicer. Expect their offices to get a lot nicer. I'm sure the desks are gonna get fancier. Who knows? Maybe they're even wearing trendy masks. Who knows?
They're trying to justify their existence. And again, this is an industry that is being disintermediated, just like the internet has disintermediated so many industries. The banking industry is a little different because it's this gigantic, evil thing that has its tentacles in government that's been around for so many hundreds of years that, people think banking, and, you see this with a lot of older people that are into Bitcoin, they think that banks are necessary. El Salvador is proving that they're not, right? But anyways, I kind of want to pivot to what you were talking about in the beginning, Phil, and this is the last segment, right? And it's, again, rules for thee, but not for me, right? You guys already know this. We reported this. Yellen defends IRS rule requiring banks to report all transactions over 600. To read from the article, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is defending a Biden administration proposal that would require banks to report data to the IRS on transactions over $600, calling the collection a collection of information routine after taking heat for the idea that is widely seen as an unprecedented invasion of privacy. That's because that's exactly what it is. But anyways, moving on.
Take your rights.
Moving on.
Routine.
What? Okay, so remember this, right? 600. By the way, this is completely against the Fourth Amendment, which it literally says no unreasonable search and seizures. I think this is very unreasonable. Anyways, but let's kind of pivot. Let's see how the elites. Let's see what rules they're playing by, right? Check out this article from Bloomberg Businessweek. Most Americans today believe the stock market is rigged, and they're right. I wonder why they would believe something like that, right? Check out this Twitter. It's really interesting. It's called Nancy Tracker, Nancy Pelosi's portfolio tracker. Nancy Pelosi has a salary of only $200,000, but a net worth over $100 million. How did she do this? Deep insider knowledge. But bear with me, I'm not done. Robinhood, remember, guys, the GameStop debacle and how we thought we were, no, not how we thought, how we were brothers in arms, but how we told them and how we sold everybody is that they're fighting within the system, right? Check this out, okay? Robinhood's president was actively trading meme stocks while at the same time making decisions to freeze meme stocks. And here is the actual document. I sold my AMC today. FYI, tomorrow morning, we're moving GME to 100%. So you are aware, right? Despite acknowledging we aren't paying $3 billion worth. So they knew, which is what we were, there was no way to confirm this at the time, right? So again, right, is the Robinhood CEO going to get in trouble? No. Is Nancy Pelosi going to get in trouble? No. But us peasants, right? Because that's what we are, apparently. We have to report every $600 transaction because apparently we're committing crimes, right? But as Phil showed in the Daily Fail, it's the banks that are the ones committing the crimes. But they're the one, all they get, they don't get jail time. All they get is a slap in the wrist, and they see it as a cost of doing business, right? If you look at the amount of fines that the major US banks have incurred over the years, right, has shown you that they don't care. They just see it as a cost of doing business, but they know that none of them are going to go to jail. Nancy Pelosi knows she's not going to go to jail. The CEO of Robinhood knows he's not going to go to jail, but us peasants, right? If anything happens with the $600 transaction, jail time for you, right? That is an injustice, and that is why we Bitcoin opt out of the corrupt, broken system that only sees you, excuse my language, as a fucking tax cattle, okay? Because that's how they see you. That's how the elites see you. So opt out. Buy yourself the soundest money that was ever existed. Opt out of the system. Just opt out. Say, I don't want to play anymore. Defund them, right? Anyways, Phil.
Okay, so a couple points. First off, Nancy Pelosi is a genius investor, okay? That is pure investment prowess right there, okay? We only dream that we could be as talented as her. Just saying. That's talent. There's no way that was insider knowledge, Nico. There's no way. I'm sorry. I can't agree with that. Anyways, if you can't detect sarcasm, that's total sarcasm. It's complete human garbage, and it just proves it. I mean, are you kidding me? Really? Like that is just absolutely disgusting. The other point about the $600 transaction got me thinking. So $600, right? Like, what's significant about that number? Sure, we've talked about inflation. Sure, we've talked about at some point $600 is going to be so little. It's going to do so little that you're going to, like a transaction like that is going to be fairly common, and it's going to, a lot of those transactions are going to get captured in this quote unquote regulatory net. But really what it got me thinking of, which I could be totally wrong, and it has to do with buying higher end, like essentially more expensive products. If you think about it, right, this $600 thing, right, to people who are paying attention that these transactions are going, like, what does that force you to do? Kind of forces you, if you're really paranoid about this, like, think about like this, right? They come out with this $600 thing. All of a sudden, people start getting arrested. All of a sudden, there's a lot of like, a lot of like fear that is created. So now all of a sudden you've got a bunch of people that are, somewhat afraid to do these types of transactions, these larger transactions. What does it cause? It causes people to, maybe not get higher end items, right? Number one. Number two, what does it also force? It forces a lot of people to take items on like layaway or, like rent-a-center type stuff. Like where you're essentially like, I don't know if you noticed, but on most websites, everything has a payment plan now. Like everything has a payment plan. So this rented future, this you'll have nothing, right? This is how it ties back to all this garbage, right? The World Economic Forum, you'll have nothing and be happy. There's the rented future. All of a sudden, it's just, hey, stay under the government's radar or just, make all these smaller transactions. And now all of a sudden you're renting everything. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. I'm sure I can, but it was interesting to me to do this.
But here's the thing, Phil. Like, in the beginning, we felt guilty because we were just like, it could be, a conspiracy theory. Of course, there's no way to confirm that. But we've been awfully right about the things that we've been saying. So, like...
But it's, again, this is weird stuff. We've never experienced this type of stuff in our lifetime, so I'm just, I'm taking that kind of, like, objective, humble approach that, like, look, it's an interesting idea, but I've got nothing to back it up. This is just stuff I think about, randomly. So.
No, yeah, and I think it's a hell of a theory, right? Of course, we can't confirm it, right? It's just a theory. We're speculating, but yeah, man. Listen, when they passed the Bank Secrecy Act and they first started, this reporting to the government, it was $10,000, and it was $10,000 back in the 1970s. If you adjust for inflation, that was $70K. Right? So now the threshold has gone down all the way to $600, and it started at $70,000. And the reason that they did that, again, because they knew if they passed it to $10,000, everyone would go up in arms, right? But slowly but surely it started decreasing over time. And now we've gotten to the point where, it's just a $600 reporting. Remember what Janet Yellen said? She's like, it's just procedure. My ass, right? So anyways, guys, opt out of the broken system, opt out of the surveillance system, get yourself some Bitcoin, and just, man, it's dark in the fiat world. That's all I gotta say. But anyways, Phil, there was a website by Plebe. Why don't you show everybody?
Websites by plebes or plebs. All right, here we go. We've got darthcoin.substack.com. Darthcoin is a fellow Bitcoiner, popped into the Simply Bitcoin Telegram, and been going back and forth with him quite a bit. Seems like a cool dude. Always gives me the updates, the lightning, the software releases. Anytime he catches them, he pops them in. Anyways, this is his website, darthcoin.substack.com. It's got some really great resources, I think all levels of Bitcoiners, but especially if you're a beginner, definitely check it out. Here we go. You got the 21 reasons why Bitcoin will save the world. That's cool. He's got some articles over here, some help. Anyways, check it out. It's a great pleb resource down below in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. That was an awesome website by Plebe. And guys, it's a good time. Buy your tickets to Bitcoin 2022. But do it now, because the prices go up every single month. And guess what? There's a 10% link down, 10% off link down below. It's going to be the biggest Bitcoin conference ever. It's going to be the Miami Beach Convention Center. It's going to be awesome. Phil and I are probably going to go. Bitcoin 2022. Check out Crypto Cloaks for the best Bitcoin 3D printed merch, like the Bitcoin grenade, like the 3D printed honey badger. Comes in different sizes. It's awesome. There's a 5% link down below. CryptoCloaks.com. Check out Citadel 21 for the best Bitcoin cultural zine, pure pleb signal, Bitcoin articles, news, stories by plebs, for plebs. Get yourself a physical copy. There's only 1,000 made per volume. Citadel21.com. Check out Pirate Hash for some awesome Bitcoin trinkets like this Bitcoin board game, this awesome source code poster. It's by the guy that did the UI for BIS. Check out piratehash.com. Anyways, guys, that was our show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And of course, if you want to continue hearing the catastrophic fails from the evil central bankers and the Bitcoin news from the plip-plap perspective, definitely consider subscribing. And we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for another episode of Simply Bitcoin.
Where our world gone?
Yeah.